Hello friends, this is Jennifer Terri and welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll talk about what are the 3 things that needs to happen first before the Philippines can open up again to foreigners with visas and balikbayans. So currently, with the entry restrictions, 9A visa holders, former Filipinos, even foreign permanent residents in the Philippines are not allowed to enter the Philippines. When will they open again to these people? Nobody can tell as to when will the Philippine government open up to you again. This travel suspension is said to be a temporary suspension only. As for the Balikbayan Program, same thing. So we don't exactly know as to when will it be reinstated. As per immigration advisory and announcement, the travel suspension runs between March 22 to April 21. So based on that information, the earliest possible is April 22. But can we take the government's words for it? See, the government tends to give short notice changes on the travel rules and sometimes even band-aid solutions in handling this pandemic. If you can remember, in December 2020, they banned UK travelers because of the new variant. Well, initially, the ban was for 6 days only, December 24 until December 31. But it was extended, not once but twice, until more and more countries were added to that list. So how long did that ban last? It lasted for more than 1 month. So what was supposed to be 6 days lasted until January 31. Now look at the situation, the NCR Plus situation. So this NCR Plus is the COVID hotspot in the Philippines right now. So they placed it into enhanced community quarantine, the strictest quarantine restriction in the Philippines. That's for 1 week. But do they really think that a 1-week lockdown is enough to see a significant drop in COVID-19 cases and hospital admissions? Well, of course not. So last night, they extended again the ECQ for another week. Now, if we look at the COVID situations in the Philippines, it is critical. The positivity rate is very high. 1 in 5 who gets tested turns out positive. And only around 25,000 to 30,000 RT-PCR COVID tests are being done daily in NCR Plus, which is the COVID hotspot. Testing czar Vince Dizon said it's not enough. He added that COVID-19 has once again infected testing centers, further diminishing their testing capacity and testing rate. From taking 24 hours for test results to come out, Dizon said results have been coming out after 2 to 3 days. This is why the Philippines will ramp up on antigen testing. So an antigen test, compared to the RT-PCR test, is much faster and cheaper. Now, with the COVID situation in the NCR Plus, the Philippines will be using this to diagnose and confirm cases. Those who tested positive through this antigen testing in the NCR Plus will now be included in the official tally of infections. However, those who test negative in the antigen test will undergo a confirmatory reverse RT-PCR test or repeat antigen test. This use of antigen testing as a confirmatory test will only be used until the declaration of the outbreak in the NCR Plus is lifted. So when will the Philippines reopen to foreigners with visas and balikbayans? 3 things need to happen first. Now, they don't have to happen, all of these things. It could be just one of these to happen, but these 3 things are important. These are the pillars of reopening to foreigners with visas and balikbayans again. The first one, obviously, is when the COVID cases go down. So hopefully with this lockdown, hopefully it will bring down the cases in the Philippines. So the NCR Plus, the COVID hotspot, has been on lockdown now for close to 2 weeks. The first week, they had a travel bubble. And last week, they had the strict lockdown, the ECQ. According to Okta, molecular biologist Father Nicanor Austriaco said the country would see the lockdown's full effect around April 7. However, Octo research is suggesting 2 weeks ECQ. Why? Because it's crystal clear to everyone that based on the data, neither the reproduction growth is going down significantly, nor is the hospital utilization going down significantly. Second thing, when the travel cap is increased. So currently, the maximum inbound capacity in NAIA is only 1,500. If you can remember, starting March 15, they reduced the maximum inbound capacity in NAIA. From 3,000, they slashed it to 1,500, meaning NAIA can only accept 1,500 international passengers per day combined with all airlines. Now, if you think about it, how many passengers can one flight carry? A Boeing 77 can carry like 300 to 500 passengers. So you do the maths, guys. So we've noticed that flights are being rerouted to Clark or Cebu. But also we have to remember that Cebu and Clark has their own travel caps as well, 1,500 each. So with the limited number of international arrivals in NAIA to just 1,500, of course, the Philippine government has to make sure that with that 1,500 will carry Filipino citizens. So not unless they increase the travel cap, I don't think they will open to former Filipinos and foreign nationals with visas. And then the last event that has to happen before they can reopen is to reduce or remove the hotel quarantine period. Hotels are now being congested. They get full. As a result, some of our kababayans or international arrivals have to quarantine outside Manila. Well, that makes it hard for specimen collectors to do the swab testing. It is a chaos, this prolonged quarantine in the hotel of 6 days. It is hard for us non-OFWs to pay so much money in the hotels. It is hard for the OWA to pay for these long hotel stays for the OFWs. It is hard for the specimen collectors to go in different places. As what the doctor from the Philippine Red Cross refer, this 6 days hotel quarantine is an operational nightmare. So even if the travel cap is increased to 3,000 just like before in NAIA, even if they ease the restrictions, the entry restrictions, if the protocols of a prolonged quarantine in the hotel is still the same, then we will encounter the same problems. Same problems will appear. Hotels will be congested. It will overwhelm the testing labs again. So we are really begging for the IATF to please review the protocol. The Philippine Red Cross chairman already lamented on this, and this was in the newspapers. But it seems like the IATF has not taken any notice. When the president asked, the IATF chairman said, "Oh, it's already been stabilized." But it's not. Red Cross has temporarily stopped their testing for OFWs. So these are the 3 things that needs to happen first. COVID cases go down, travel cap increase, and a review of the hotel quarantine period. Good news for Cebu province residents because their governor has done something for them to remove the hotel quarantine, to bring back the old protocol, to test people at the airport, send them at the hotel while they wait for their result. Then, when the result is out, they go home. This is the old protocol, and this is what works for the government, for OWA, for non-OFWs, for the testing labs. So these are just my take po, my opinion. I could be wrong, and maybe they will reopen again without changing the protocol, without changing the hotel quarantine period or increasing the travel cap. I could be wrong. What we can do is only make noise for the government to change the protocol and pray. We will keep an eye on the changes. I will see you again with another travel update.